I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, bro.
Because you always just got when like defenders have been given like.
Well, Arsenal fans, apologies, are confident going into the Liverpool game. People deluded, I'm back again. As usual, big up yourselves. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. One love if you're on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, smash the like button. Let me know your thoughts. Now, we did beat Shakhtar Donetsk yesterday, people, and we did win a 0-0. The main thing is the 3 points, but it does feel elements of underwhelming. And when you factor in the injuries and all of that kind of stuff, it doesn't necessarily fill you with any confidence on Sunday against Liverpool. Such is life. If we go on to beat Liverpool, beat Chelsea away, beat Newcastle, do something against Inter, the sentiment that was relatively positive up until the Bournemouth game and the backdrop with that, sprinkling the injuries, begins to change. Again, the biggest pleasure I have, people, win, lose, draw, Arsenal fan or not, appreciative to you lot joining me and being part of this family and community. Again, smash the like button. If you have any thoughts, get into it, people. Now, I'm going to offer my thoughts. If I share my screen with you lot, you know, lately I've been putting stuff into a presentation. It's not the best. But if we quickly go over the Shakhtar game, right? Match stats. Shakhtar Donetsk, the visitors, had 8 shots. We had 13. We had 5 on target. They had 1. We had 56% of the ball to their 44%. You know, passing, there's not much in it, but we did do better than them. 597 passes to 467. We had 5 corners. They had 3. So on the balance of things, we did deserve to win the game. We, you know, when we did get 3 points, we did keep a clean sheet. But chance creation and chance conversion, you know, in the first half, I think the chances were more clear cut. Second half, it's another thing where we kind of go back into our shell. And on one hand, you do have to manage the game and be street smart and don't necessarily have to go gun ho. But it's almost like we stop attacking with that same intent. You take Thomas Partey and you put him right back. Obviously, Benjamin White's on the yellow card. We lost the little control we had. So if you're not taking the minimal clear-cut chances you're being given, and ultimately you're not creating, you're going to be in trouble. It's not going to be optimistic, really. And it's a weird one because I won't quite say it feels like a defeat, but it does feel like one. It feels like one where probably a lot of our frustration comes off the back of the Bournemouth game and a bit of anxiety with the injuries and evidently with Liverpool on the weekend and the fixtures to come, people. Let's start with the negatives, or my negatives. Obviously, Leandro Trossard. I can't remember the statistic, but I'm pretty sure Kai Havertz had he have taken the penalty, and I'm surprised he's not because he's quite confident from the spot. I think he would have hit some sort of record for goals at the Emirates. Now, the only penalties that are not scored are the ones that are not missed. Sorry, are the ones that are not taken. So I'll never get at Trossard for missing, but Trossard's been a bit of a quote-unquote villain, you know. Obviously, against Bournemouth, his lazy back pass put Saliba in it. He stepped up, took the penalty, and it was a woeful effort. 4 of our last 8 penalties in the Champions League we've missed. When you look at the XG, not that I necessarily care about it, it reflects what we know in that we had 2.13, they had 0.83. So there should have been more distance between the side. And let's not lie, we lived dangerously towards the end. While I think we were quite confident and we were the better team, I do think Shakhtar, even in the first half, which was a lot better than the second, you know, they were pouring forward, they were asking questions, they did look like they could threaten on the break. We did have David Raya to thank for a couple of occasions, so it wasn't as clear cut as maybe the statistics suggest, people. And then for me, lack of real chance creation, I would say real chance creation. Yeah, Jesus could have bagged, you know, Declan Rice had an effort, you know, we're counting on one hand though. We did obviously score, but we're counting on one hand the chances that are being created. And my man here, Kai Havertz, I think he had a great game, especially when we were trying to manage the second half. What chances are being created? This is why, as much as I want the Gyökeres's, the Isaacs, the Sesco's, any striker, you name it, we're not creating a lot. I'm here for, and we'll get into it in a bit, people. I'm here for Kai Havertz dropping onto the right-hand side, dropping into midfield, mucking in, running off the ball. But while the striking position is advanced, I still believe you've got to create chances for your striker, and we didn't do that. There's not a lot of chances. You don't create chances. You don't score the little ones you create. It's not positive, people. So I do think there's a lack of chance creation. I do think we're lacking a bit of that clinical edge. I do think we rid our luck to a degree in that second half and invited a bit of pressure. I don't feel there's a feel-good factor, even though we bounced back technically against Bournemouth and won going into the Liverpool game. I do feel our build-up play is quite robotic, predictable, predictable and stale. While I love the fact that clearly what we're doing on the training ground's working, personally, I don't think it's got that healthy randomness that you need in the final third. Like in life, you know, you need randomness for creativity in life, and football reflects that in the final third. I think that was there. And obviously, once again, Trossard missed the penalty. If we get into some positives, people, David Raya in the Champions League, in his 3 games played, he's made 5 saves and he's had 1 penalty that he saved, and he's conceded none currently. Arsenal in the Champions League phase this season, we drew against Atalanta, beat PSG and Shakhtar, so we've got 7 points from a potential 9. There is a bit of an insurance policy going into evidently Inter Milan away, which is going to be tricky, especially because, let's be honest, you know, I'm sure when Mikel Arteta sends a text, even though he said they got a day off, who's going to be at training, but there's no one available. Do you know how many academy players must be taking part in training because we haven't got bodies? But we'll get onto that. Technically, and I know we had an absence from the from European competition or Europeans elite. We haven't lost a home group stage game in the Champions League since September 2015. If I had to find some positives, Raya got us out of jail. Typo on Havertz's name. I think Havertz was decent. I think Partey was good. I think Martinelli had a positive performance, especially when he scored. Ultimately, Gabriel Jesus didn't score, but definitely in the games I've seen of recent from Gabriel Jesus, it was quote-unquote somewhat of a step in the right direction. And Sterling, obviously, there's still troubles there. There isn't anything to really scream and shout about. I think Sterling was quite decent. I think the first half was decent. I feel in both halves, more in the second when we're getting scared, I feel there was a lot of unnecessary mistakes and a lot of complacency defensively. Ultimately, we got 3 points. We kept a clean sheet. We somewhat bounced back. We've got 7 points from 9 in the champ. So it's definitely not all sunshine and rainbows, but it could be a lot worse, people. It's a mixed bag, and where Arsenal want to go from here is another thing. Now, I think I speak for everybody. You know, we don't need any statistics. There's probably so many statistics. We miss Martin Odegaard and we miss Saka. Mikel Arteta, there was a point we was getting over the line, probably not without Saka, but getting over the line in the absence of Odegaard. Odegaard leads the press. He's our creative hub. Obviously, where you look at the partnership and the individuality between Odegaard and Saka, even a thing where just getting us out of jail when we haven't been good, there's an absence there. We'll get into it, but Mikel Arteta didn't. Maybe he's playing a bit of a game. Didn't sound very optimistic about half of our players being involved. When you look at possession with and without Odegaard, it drops to 55% from 56.5. You know, you look at passes in the final third over a 90-minute period. With Odegaard, it's at 60.4. It drops to 59, people. Passes in the final third, it's at 77.2%. It drops to 76.8. And then you look at accurate passing accuracy in the opposition half. It's actually, well, to be fair, maybe because we're playing less passes, it's actually higher without Odegaard. We miss more than anything the individual brilliance that Odegaard provides. Then you look at injuries, people. Now, again, Mikel Arteta could be playing a bit of a game there, but, you know, Saka, Calafiori, Martin Odegaard, Timber, Tomiyasu, Tierney, Zinchenko isn't exactly fit. You know, we don't know where, well, Saliba's now obviously out of the Liverpool game. It doesn't fill you with a lot of confidence. Now, injuries happen. You're going to have to get on with it now, and stranger things have happened in life than a team that's decimated by injuries and suspensions and ultimately availability winning a football game. Harder things have been achieved. On Bukayo Saka, the gaffer said, I don't know. He wasn't able to train yet, so that's unlikely. Again, small hope that that's the dark arts from Mikel Arteta. Have to kind of accept it at face value. And where do you go from there? Because he kind of was speaking like Saka would have been involved at the weekend against Bournemouth. So it's got to the point where I'm not going to take Mikel Arteta's words seriously, positively or negatively. It's like once we kick off against Liverpool in an hour before and we see the match they scored, that's where I'll go. On Benjamin White, who I felt wasn't troubled, but he was on the yellow. They were attacking down his side. You could see how Benjamin White could drop a clanger. He said, Ben, it was my decision to take him out. He had a yellow card, and we had enough playing 10 men in the last period. With Ricky, he had to come off because he felt something. I don't know the extent of it, but it's not good news. Now, I somewhat apologize to Calafiori because during the game, when he's obviously tried to drop a shoulder and go forward, and he's obviously lost the ball, he's just sitting on the floor while the game's still playing, and I'm telling him to get up. If you've hurt yourself, then I apologize with that, Calafiori. Now, players need to be brave playing out from the back. But I do think Calafiori needs to calm down a bit. And I do think his injury was somewhat self-inflicted and kind of on brand, people. Now, it's a tough one. You know, there's some rumors it could be ligaments. Some rumors it could be knees. Mikel Arteta didn't give much away. Didn't sound too optimistic. I always say in life, you hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So Who knows what's going on there? Big up Martinelli. Martinelli said it was his goal. He's not buying the own goal. He got man of the match, even though I think Partey was the man of the match. Mikel Arteta did say, believe me on Sunday versus Liverpool, be flying. Trust me on that. We have to. And, you know, you've come out with these words for no reason now. So you're going to have to back it up if I'm completely honest with you. These words have to correlate to something. On getting the job done yesterday or tonight, as it says there, well, I think there were two very different halves. First half, we were very dominant. We created 4 big chances. We should have converted them and put the game to bed with the amount of dominance we had. The second half, very different. We looked tired. We lacked that sharpness with and without the ball to regain the ball in the right moments, as well as in the right areas and giving balls away that allow certain transitions. Now, are we tired because of the fixture calendar list, or are we tired because simply put the lack of bodies? Or are we mentally fatigued? We had 2 big chances. Again, missed a big penalty. That emotion, again, was difficult to overcome, and we have to begin. But credit to them, they are a good side at the moment. You allow them space, don't finish actions, and give them the chance to run their threat. Overall, it's the Champions League. Get the win, clean sheet. Let's move on. Again, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new here. On the Liverpool game this upcoming Sunday, well, we played 2.5 days ago. After the internationals, after flying from Brazil and many countries, I was expecting that we could drop off a bit. And the fact we put so much in the first half and didn't convert and get the distance in terms of the result and the scoreline that far, I think we paid a little bit of that, and we made life more difficult for us because obviously we started to give the ball away and not regain the ball in the right areas, and it was more open, so that didn't help. But we have 4 days, and believe me, on Sunday we will be flying. I mean, Mikel Arteta doing chattings, so make sure that correlates. On whether this week will be a good time to prepare for the weekend, we'll review what we have to do. We have a day off, then 2 days to prepare the game. Sunday is far, and we are more than comfortable that we'll be in a great place. Hopefully, man, it would be nice to at least see Saka. Obviously, would love Odegaard to be there. At best, we need players with some individual brilliance, and I think the drop-off is too much. You know, Mikel Arteta, you've tried a couple of things in midfield to make success. We've seen, you know, against Bournemouth, it was a more industrial midfield. We've seen kind of Kai Havertz and Jesus do a thing there. We've seen Trossard work there. I can't really, as much as I feel, you know, you could blood Ethan, he's not doing that. We can't talk about what we could have, would have, should have done in the summer, right or wrong, because we didn't. It hasn't worked really and truly. You know, the drop off with Bukayo Saka not being there, with Gabriel Jesus and Sterling is quite big. The midfield is not creating chances. We're slow in terms of our build-up play. When we do create chances, we're not converting. So it isn't the best mixture, and it doesn't bode well going into obviously the weekend. Now, my personal feelings, people, this is just my feelings. Obviously, with Saka, Calafiori, Saliba, Odegaard, Timber all potentially missing, it does scare you. I'm happy with the result and the 3 points in the Champions League, but I wouldn't say that performance done much for my confidence, eliminating, you know, the negatives from Bournemouth and giving me some real optimism against Liverpool. I think the depth and creativity issues we face are now being highlighted. Is this side, in terms of depth and ability, really as strong as been spoken about internally with some Arsenal fans? Going into the Liverpool game, if Calafiori is injured, who plays left back? Who plays centre half? We're already decimated defensively, people. What midfield is really the solution? And I don't think we was defensively weak, but I wouldn't say we was defensively solid. I don't think we was great in attack. I still think there's midfield issues. I think the combinations and the little smart things Arteta has done has got us away with things, and we're ticking over. But it doesn't feel like there's a long-term solution, and I don't think he'll start Ethan against Liverpool. But at this point, what else have you got to lose, people, if I'm completely honest with you? And then you look at our build-up play, like, obviously, we're not really like this, but it gets quite predictable. You know, Jesus had a better game, but he's almost exclusively on the right. Martinelli's half in the half space. Trossard is kind of going over there. You got Declan Rice galloping forward. You got Calafiori there. You got Timber probably offering that. White kind of doing something there. And then, obviously, this is assuming, again, don't worry about the numbers. We saw what Shakhtar the next did. 9 times out of 10, it's low blocks, deep units. They'll let us knock the ball side to side. Let's put 2 banks of 4 just because it's a bit easier, people, to understand. You know, obviously, when we progress play, assuming that nobody's there, like, it's neat, it's pretty, it's, you know, if we can't go forward, we'll go back. Calafiori to Trossard, to Rice, to Odegaard, we'll knock it about. Felt sorry for Kai because, again, Kai, nobody's creating any clear-cut chances for you to be in the middle. You're having to pull to the right-hand side. Jesus is there. Rice isn't the best in the final third, even though he got an assist. He's there. And then we're kind of in trouble, really and truly. So, yeah, like something needs to be done in terms of breaking down low blocks personally, folks, people. But it is what it is, man. Again, smash the like button and big up you lot tuned in. The engagements have taken a hit on YouTube, people. We need to get it back. What does Saka do anyway, an overhyped player? A bit harsh, and to be fair, you can have your criticisms about Bukayo Saka, but I think anyone that's dared to watch Arsenal Football Club, the eye test doesn't lie. The numbers don't lie. What that man's done year in, year out for this football club doesn't lie. And more than anything, his absence doesn't lie, man. Saka, White, Odegaard, Timber, Calafiori, Tomiyasu, Tierney, Zini out. I think we're forcing the Tierney one, but he is injured. Never scared personally, but Liverpool at Anfield could get ugly. It's at the Emirates. The only things I have optimism about Arsenal and Liverpool would be our top 6 record. Generally, we've done all right against the top 6. I know the boys are going to want to put up a fight. And if I'm honest with you, a lot of it is probably blind optimism that, are we going to turn this around? And obviously the fact of, I am nervous about these injuries, but at the end of the day, like, Liverpool have to still cross that chalk and put the ball in the back of the net, and anyone can win a game of football. Now, I try to be balanced, and I'm not trying to do the doom and gloom thing, but I'm not filled with too much confidence beyond blind optimism, because I feel if we was in a good moment and a good bunch of form and a good bit of form, naturally I'd have all the confidence in the world, not going into arrogance. I can only comment on what I've seen, and I don't want to do too much because it hasn't been two kind of underwhelming games, bearing in mind we didn't actually lose yesterday. We only lost to Bournemouth this season. We've only got 2 defeats in 2024, but I do think a lot of what we're complaining about has been there in games. It's been there in Southampton. It's been there against Leicester. It was there against Brighton when we was down to 11, before we was down to 10 men. It was there when it was 11 versus Bournemouth, let alone highlighted. It was there in the second half against Aston Villa. Now, don't get twisted. You can't always be at your best. Isolated, you can have a couple of performances like that throughout a season, but it does not bode well, if I'm honest. By the way, people, you would have seen this week, or probably off the back of the weekend, Jack Wilshere to Norwich was taking kind of heat. It's been officially confirmed he has left his under-18s head coach position to join Norwich City's first team, people, as a coach, people. The man himself has said, I learned so much. I learned so much during my time coaching with Arsenal. I'll forever be thankful for the experience. Now I'm looking really forward to working with the coaching staff and players, and can't wait to get going. Obviously, Ben Napier, who was once at Arsenal, said he's happy to see Jack Wilshere, so big him up on his career progression. Adam Birchall takes over as the under-18s head coach, people, for what it's worth. Apparently, Max Dolman and a number of academy players are actually upset that Jack Wilshere's left. Now, I understand it. He's probably a good guy, and Jack Wilshere didn't reach his potential, but what better person I know he's not in the academy anymore technically, but for Ethan, for Lewis Skelly, for Max Dolman and anyone else, then Jack Wilshere, who's been there, done it, wore the t-shirt. But what I would say to these young players and their families, you lot are not stupid. Football is a revolving door. People, players, coaches, everybody can leave at any time. And if the players genuinely are upset, these young players, you lot need to get your act together, because managers leave. If you become professional footballers, managers are going to depart the club. But I did like to have Jack Wilshere and Max Dolman. It's almost like he's your V2. So yeah, man, big up Jack Wilshere. Go do your thing. Would you lot looking at social media, people? Would you lot start Ethan against Liverpool? I mean, yes, he's young and all of these things, but what have we got to lose? Is Ethan a better or worse option than Trossard in the 10, than moving Kai Havertz about? Not that I can see that. Then the midfield we saw against Bournemouth. I mean, you can always take a man off, and yeah, there might be some psychological factors. He doesn't look overruled to me, but it would be, his first start in the Prem. It would be against Liverpool. There might be some nervousness, but at the same time, he might be so naive to the fact that, I'm finally getting a start. This is what I've been working for. I'm in the first team. I'm doing what I'm doing. He might, in a positive way, he might be so naive that he's not overruled. I don't know. I don't expect to see that, but that's food for thought. I did think this tweet was good. This actually felt like a loss. 96 minutes I'll never be able to get back. I think the second half was terrible. I think Charles Watts is on the money as well. One of those games when almost everybody played okay, but nothing more. Partey and Martinelli aside, just about did enough to win, but no spark or pace. So wasteful in front of goal. Trossard's penalty summed it up. So it's been 2 games where we've been quite sloppy. Calafiori's injury, a real worry with an already creaking squad. And I mean, if we praise Mikel Arteta and Edu and everyone who's involved for how they've assembled the squad, and injuries can decimate any team, especially the ones we're having, have we really got the strongest foundations? Because we didn't have this last season, but generally, us Arsenal fans, where it comes to injuries, we're used to this. We've been around the block several times, people. Shout out to my guy, Different Lock. He said, Mikel got me fuming about a 1-0 win to take us 4th out of 36 in the Champions League table without 2 of our best players. Times change. Fair play. Moving away from that, I do think Declan Rice is getting to grips with the 8 role, but in terms of what we come to expect as Arsenal fans from an 8, Declan Rice isn't that. It's like trying to draw blood from a stone, essentially. And I think he's, to be fair, I think everyone's allowed healthy criticisms, but I think Declan Rice is getting a bit too much heat from Arsenal fans. Apparently, Arsenal have registered an interest in signing John Duran from Aston Villa this January. I mean, he scored yesterday, did he not? I'm sure he scored yesterday, and you would have seen him punching up the chair and whatnot. He's just signed a new deal. 20 years of age, doing his thing. We need a striker. Why not? We need to create chances for a striker. But I don't think any Arsenal fan would say no to Duran. This is clearly paper talk, much less in January as well, where you're going to have to pay a hefty fee. I don't know how much they would ask for him, but there you have it, people. Apparently, he has a 90 million euro, 75 million price tag on his head, people. If Arsenal were to agree to this fee, Duran would be the second most expensive player in their history, evidently behind Declan Rice, and he would have clipped Kai Havertz, people. I can't really see it. He has been linked with West Ham, Chelsea, Arsenal, actually Spurs. You saw the Aston Villa director of football sit there and say 40 clubs were interested in him in the recent window that just went. Allegedly, Arsenal and Chelsea have been put on red alert as Isak could look to embark on a fresh challenge if he's unable to spearhead Newcastle to qualification for a major European competition ahead of next season. Now, they've got over the line with another Newcastle player who is linked with in Anthony Gordon. They might convince Isak to sign a new deal. I just believe, again, we need a striker. We obviously know Isak's a man in high demand. I think it's a case of creative journalism. We're not getting Isak unless you put down the money that's required. In a potentially significant twist, Give Me Sports sources have been informed that Isak is not interested in being forced to contend with a second consecutive season without competing in a continental tournament. Arsenal and Chelsea are prepared to step up their interest in the new year if there seems to be any possibility of him leaving Newcastle. The capital clubs have been long-term admirers of the frontman, but the Blues pulled out of the running to clinch his signature during the summer as they were unwilling to meet the Magpies' 120 million demands as Maresca aimed to improve the squad he inherited from Pochettino. So 120 million. We're not doing that, are we? And again, rightly so, apologies for that noise. Newcastle are unwilling to let him go in January. He has 3 years left on his deal. They are getting to that period to convince him to sign a new deal. Would love his that. Apparently, we're plotting a move for Brentford striker Mbeumo. The 25-year-old has 6 goals in 8 games this campaign. I mean, I'd love to have Mbeumo. I'm not going to lie, over the current form of Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling in Arsenal shirts. And Mbeumo would obviously be a more sexier player and option if Saka isn't there. Well, to be honest, even if Saka is there. Again, a player we all love in Gyökeres. He can't stop scoring for Sporting, people. He scored last night and it was a great goal, man. Like I always say, when you look at this man and he's scoring goals for fun, evidently strikers have to score goals, granted. But I think, I'm not going to say he's perfect, but I think in terms of what I see from what Mikel Arteta demands of Kai Havertz, I think he's perfect. If you go and watch that goal he scored, where he's basically playing as a left winger, he skinned his man. As I said yesterday, actually, I think his channel play is superb. I think his hold up play is superb. I think his link up play is superb. I think he's able to affect the games without scoring. Evidently, when you're getting goals and assists, it's great. 13 games, 13 goals and 4 assists, and he's actually been in great form for his country as well. So between Isak and Gyökeres, one of these Swedish strikers needs to find their way. I mean, who knows? Mudryk might be twerking for a move to Arsenal, but you would have seen, probably because it's his former club. Mudryk was watching Arsenal play his former club's shatter the nets at the Emirates yesterday, people. I mean, big up Saka and his bird, but we want to see you on the pitch. This upset me, man. Like, I miss seeing you on the pitch. And the same is said for Martin Odegaard as well, people. So it is what it is in that regards. We're being linked with another goalie, people. Arsenal, along with another Premier League club, are reportedly eyeing up young Aston Villa goalkeeper Oliver Zietz. The 20-year-old's impressive performances for Villa's development side have earned him a call-up to the senior Poland squad. With just over 6 months left on his contract at Villa Park, Zietz will be free to agree a pre-contract with another club when the January window opens. As per the Telegraph, Arsenal are contemplating making a move, but they face competition from fellow Premier League outfit Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, we need goalies, and I'm not against it. He is a decent keeper for what I've seen. I actually think he's been called up into the Polish squad, and it could be a shrewd bit of business. Again, if Villa give him a new deal, there's compensation, and we can't, indirectly, we can agree a contract, but you can't formally. I wouldn't be against it. Who knows? You'd probably end up being third choice, but at the same time, you join us, and you'd have Jack Porter. He's a couple of years older than Jack Porter, but you've got him, you've got Jack Porter, you've got Tommy Setford. You're probably bringing in another keeper. Obviously, nobody's getting ahead of David Raya. From a him perspective, does it make sense, or does it make sense to leave, drop down the divisions, go somewhere you're genuinely going to play a lot of games, people? I don't know. Brighton have a couple of decent goalies, and they rotate their goalies a lot more than we ever did when we had Raya and Ramsdale. Any club that signs the goalkeeper on a free transfer would need to pay a compensation fee due to his age. This fee is typically set by a tribunal and is generally much lower than any potential transfer fee. Apparently, he was named in Aston Villa's match day squad 3 times this season, including in the Champions League against Bayern Munich. However, he's yet to play for his football club. He did spend last season on loan in Poland, so we'll have to see where the goalkeeper search is concerned. In relation to Calafiori, it doesn't seem too optimistic. We all know he suffered an injury for Shakhtar. Apparently, Arteta described it as he felt something and that his situation is worrying. Sky Italia say the Arsenal summer signing will undergo tests today to find out the extent of the damage. As per Calcio Mercato, they say there's a fear the Italy international's ligaments have been damaged in this time, people. Arsenal's medical staff, who were immediately concerned, started working to understand what extent he has suffered damage. It's claimed there should be more clarity on the player's situation in the next few hours after he undergoes examinations. Calcio Mercato state the major concern is that the former Bologna man's knee ligaments may have been affected. Their title says he's at risk to face Inter Milan in the Champions League on November the 6th. If that's the case, it would mean he misses the next league fixtures against Liverpool and Newcastle. So it doesn't sound too optimistic where Arsenal Football Club are concerned, people. It really doesn't. So we'll have to see. What did you lot make of it, people? What is you lot's thoughts and questions, etc., etc.? Again, get them in, people, and we'll see exactly if there's anything else to really discuss. Slow news there. Everything's just going to be focused around evidently what happened yesterday. Shout out Jeremy Adiadier. Nobody wants to hear that. Liverpool are in such good form. It's 2 contrasting styles, but they do typically say form goes out the window in ties of this ilk, people. So who knows? I prefer Sesko, Isak, or Gyökeres over Duran. I like them all, man. What I like about Duran is his fiery mentality, man. I think he's fiery. He's 20 years of age. I think he's got that showman element about him as well. Isak would be my first choice. Premier League proven, number 14, love scoring against Spurs. You've got Mikel Moreno, you've got Odegaard, splashed 120 million, keep it moving. I think the club prefer Sesko, and you don't know I'm a big fan of Sesko, but he's a bit young and raw. I'm not against Gyökeres. I think Gyökeres is perfect, man. In my opinion, why you don't want to put too much on his shoulders. Without Odegaard and Saka, our creative outlet has taken a huge hit. Start him and reevaluate his performance at the half. It's true, but the only thing, and I agree with you for what it's worth. My only issue is creativity, apologies, can't come from one person. Like, I hear it. Me, I want to see Ethan, because you lot that are taking minutes from him, you're not doing anything. It can't just be one man. You know, he plays in the 8.5 or the 10, assuming that how's it going to go from David Raya to him? I feel there's deeper creativity issues, really. But that could be an avenue, and I'm not necessarily against it. I don't think it will happen. By the way, what you're saying about Lewis Skelly being subbed on ahead of Zini and Kivior. Lovely from Lewis Skelly. Love to see Lewis Skelly getting some minutes. He's come on in some big games now. The same goes for Ethan. Think it's good. I don't know for Zini, because I know Zini's nursing a knock. Maybe there was that in mind. Maybe Lewis Skelly's ahead of the pecking order. I don't think Kivior can complain. I don't think Mikel Arteta, not to scapegoat him, but I don't think Mikel Arteta wants to see you after your performance off the bench against Bournemouth. It probably is quite telling. And if you're Lewis Skelly, hey, unlike, you could be Mikel Arteta's new Ainsley Maitland-Niles. And unlike Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I don't think Lewis Skelly's going to go on Instagram and say, I don't want to play fullback. You're locking down left back. You're getting minutes in midfield. You're basically playing in midfield anyways. If you can play as an inverted left back, you can play as an inverted right back. And our defensive ranks are truly being tested. Now, I think it's easier to play a young attacker in theory in an Ethan than play a young defender, in which Lewis Skelly could play there. But I think he did quite well, man. And I like how Lewis Skelly's developing. I think it's the temperament. Yes, you can see he's young, but it's like you can tell he's not phased. Or if he is, he's a good way of hiding it. Don't know what the ref was on, making him play with his earrings and whatnot. But yeah. Man of the match, Partey. In my opinion, we were underwhelming. The players weren't putting trying in the second half. It seems, I think you mean they had the Liverpool game in the back of their mind. I agree with that to a degree, but I don't think when you're in the midst of battle and you're playing a game, I don't think people are sitting there and playing out there thinking about Liverpool. But that's just me. We can't afford to use Zinchenko there against Salah. Toby, I'm with you, but hey, if there's no Calafiori, if there's no Tomiyasu, if there's no Tierney, if there's no Timber, there's some issues in defense. Hey, do you go with, who would you not rather go with, Kivi or Zini? Or Lewis Skelly? Because I don't really want to put Lewis Skelly out there against Salah. But at least he's going to learn from it. Like, God forbid, you know, best case scenario, Lewis Kelly plays fullback. He has a great game. He locks up, easier said than done, but he locks up Salah, great confidence booster. Or the other way, he gets absolutely destroyed, butchered, gets hooked. And while it would hurt me to see that, at least for a young 17, 18-year-old, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to take that and learn. If Zinchenko gets ripped, I'm sure he doesn't want to, but we've been here before. Kivior, we've been here before. And for me, with Kivior and Zinni, it's the less of two evils, man. Like, you know, with Zinni, you do, in theory, get a bit more control in midfield, but you know he's a fire hazard defensively. Kivior, I think he's more solid than Zinchenko, but then we have to tweak the system, and I don't think his confidence is there. So it all depends, man. I'll probably lean... A part of me wants to say Kivior just because he's more solid defensively. A part of me actually wants to say Zinni just so we can have a bit of a go. I think they're two sides of the same coin, if I'm honest with you. Respectfully to both of them, you don't want to see either. Tierney's not fit, so he's not relevant. And even if he was fit, I can't expect him to play too many games. This would be a game for him. And Tomiyasu, man, I don't want to get onto him too much because he's injured and no one wants to get injured, but it's perfect timing, isn't it? Like, not only are you always injured, you're always unavailable at crucial periods where we actually need you, man. It is what it is. I wonder now with Calafiori's injury, are we going to have to do Timber at left back, Gabriel and Saliba at centre back, and Tomiyasu at right back? This might not be fully fit. Tomiyasu is going to have to pass fitness tests before he's even able to play. And then obviously you're putting even more stress on these players. And then one thing, in an ideal world, everyone's fit, because let's just assume, for argument's sake, Calafiori and Ben White start the game. It would have been so nice, assuming the Liverpool game is going to go the way we want. We get the lead. We're trying to see out the game to be able to draw for the Tomiyasus and I said Calafiori and White. So yeah, the Tomiyasus and whatever fullbacks and defenders would be on the bench. But there's injuries in it. At the end of the day, we got what we got. There's every reason to be negative. There's every reason to be optimistic. Just go out there, have some pride in the shirt and take it from there, man. And everyone's just got to lift it. This win was papering over the cracks. Liverpool is going to be tough. But injuries are injuries, got to get on with it. Zinchenko versus Salah is going to be a long day for us. I hope, Zinchenko, you're seeing this, you know, because no one believes in you. You probably don't believe in yourself. But if you do start, let's stand up to be counted. Give us one solid defensive performance. Boy, Zinchenko's going to get cooked in several different ways. I hate to be that guy, but Zinni, you can't blame us. We've been here before. Like, you, not only are you going to get cooked 1v1, you're probably not going to be in positions where Salah's there. Like, we know we play a high line. Liverpool are great on the counter. Salah is obviously, not only is he quick and obviously great technically, but he's strong. You don't want to even think about Zinchenko. And I wonder, Mikel Arteta, are you even thinking about going to a back three? Because in weird ways, a back three could actually make us not only evidently more solid, but it could actually give us greater attacking impetus. I don't know what he's going to do, man. Zinchenko versus Diaz is going to be a long day for us. Whoever, any competent winger fancies it against him. Getting cooked on Sunday, aren't we? Have some optimism, man. Sadly, I just feel when there's a market to address things, we didn't do so. So a lot of things to address in the training ground. Don't trust anything that this manager says. I'm not going to say he's a fraud, but fair enough. Trossard should be dropped for the game on Sunday. If not, it might cost us the game and sack himself, Arteta. Trossard, you've done well, and I think you were okay against Shakhtar, really. But obviously, when you've missed a penalty off the back of, you know, not setting Saliba up, and Saliba's got to take responsibility for the red card off his own back. But there you have it. For me, it's, you could see this coming. Now, granted, you couldn't see Saliba's red card and all the red cards we've dealt with and this gravity of injuries, but we've been here before as Arsenal fans, and it's sad that the one area we're quote-unquote on paper comfortable, which is defence, being tested. We're being tested. Like, I don't think a single one of our fullbacks in particular have been fully fit since the start of the season. I don't think Calafiori has. We've seen the knocks. Don't think White has. Don't think Timber has. Evidently, Tomiyasu hasn't. Zinni hasn't. Kivior, I guess technically Kivior, you know, is an exception. Apparently, he had a knock yesterday. Why? I don't imagine he doesn't have a knock, but I just feel he wasn't getting cooked, White. But it did look in the first half that Shakhtar might get some joy with their Brazilian lads down White side, and I wouldn't say struggling, but he was getting into foot races from the moment he's on the yellow card. I don't think he wanted to tempt fate. Dare I say, maybe we're saving Ben White from himself as well, because we can't exactly afford another injury. Inadequate squad, only 22 registered and plenty injured. Never replaced Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira. Ethan not trusted. Drop-off is huge from the first 11. There you have it, man. Presentation, rate the extra effort, bro. Appreciate that, man. Always trying to get better, man. Always trying to get better. I know it was only Shakhtar, but when Ricardo Calafiori came off, we put Lewis Kelly on. Would you trust him on Sunday if Arteta started him? I'd rather Lewis Kelly go out there than Zinchenko, and I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I would lean towards Zinny. But at least if Lewis Kelly gets cooked, you're going to learn from this. Whether you make it at Arsenal on a permanent basis or not, you're going to learn these are the levels. Zinny, even if you have a great game defensively, he's still not going to bet on you, man. So it is what it is. Who would you plug into the back line for Liverpool if Calafiori and Saliba are out? Afternoon Peckham as well. And honestly, F knows, man. Like, let's actually get the pen and paper, man, because we actually need to actually write this down. Okay, there's no Saliba. We assume Cala's out. Tommy's not a thing. Fucking hell, man. Let's go Raya. Obviously, Gabriel. Timber, please be fit, man. Timber. White right back. Even though Lewis Kelly could go right back, to be fair. White right back. It'd probably have to be Kivior, you know, and what I'm about to say is probably not going to happen. It affects how we win the ball back high up the field. It affects our midfield. But honest to God, I'd rather Declan Rice play centre half than Kivior. I'd rather, you know what, Ben White, Timber, Declan Rice, Gabriel, Moreno still working his way back through fitness. Moreno, Partey, somebody else in the 10, whether that's Ethan or Trossard, go out there, let's do the business, man. And things can always be tweaked. I genuinely, it's not that I don't rate Kivior. I don't believe in you like that in games like this. And I will be the first person to say I'm wrong. Listen, Rice can play centre back. The problem is there's now knock-on effects. You've got no one in the 8. Does Moreno go there? Do you bring in Jorginho? How does the partnership work with Partey? We haven't seen this, and this is what happens in the market. I know we're not going to address every area, not going to bring in everyone and sell everyone, but it feels like these are self-inflicted errors, man, if I'm honest. One positive I can say is with our system, it's built well against big teams. Liverpool well came to the Emirates and want to keep the ball. But normally on another day, but we haven't exactly been strong defensively, really and truly. So we're going to have to get back to it. Apparently, Zinchenko was in the Shakhtar lockers after the game. I get why, but I think Zinny is done at Arsenal now. He is done. I mean, he's cool as a squad player, but he's got 2 years left on his contract. Evidently, he's fallen from grace. Now we probably need to utilise him, but I don't think Arsenal are going to give him a new deal. Doesn't seem to be getting a look in midfield. You know what? Even him in midfield is at an angle. Trossard's played fullback in his career. I'm not saying to play Trossard there, but even Trossard at left back, it wouldn't surprise me. MLS looked like he was playing for Arsenal for time, but he needs work positioning. Still, sadly, got to get on with it. Not expecting any young player to be the final form, man. Personally, I do like Gyökeres and Isak, but I see Sesko only concerned with Sesko. Does he use his height enough? I just think he's a bit raw, man, but I'm here for it. What are you saying about Jesus right wing? Because in my opinion, he did well yesterday. If Saka isn't available, would you keep the same attack versus Liverpool? Do you go Jesus or Sterling? I'm just not a fan of Sterling on that right-hand side. So for me personally, yeah, probably if Saka isn't there, you know what? Kai Havertz, Martinelli. Ultimately, it's another game where Gabriel Jesus didn't score and had a chance to score. But I think definitely of what we've seen so far of Gabriel Jesus this season, you know, definitely, well, he was captaining. Was a step in the right direction. It was a lot more positive. He was a lot more proactive, and it definitely was twice the game he put in then against Southampton. And Bolton, he just didn't score. I think he was okay, but yeah, you could. We ain't got no one else. He ain't gonna play Ethan off the right hand side. Martinelli has to play. I mean, you're one sort of optimism about going into a Liverpool game because you seem to be half up for it, man. If you're Kivior or Zinchenko, how do you feel that Lewis Kelly played ahead of them? I hope they use it as fuel. You'd be conflicted. The first thing in life, you have to put your ego to the side. Everybody in this squad is here for a reason, whether you've come through Haaland like Ethan and Lewis Kelly or you've been bought for X amount like them. Everybody has a place. The manager has to reserve the right to use what he needs to use because these lot have come off the bench in situations where Lewis Kelly hasn't. So you have to put your ego to the side. But at the same time, it should bruise your ego. It should make you spring your step a bit more in training and up things. You know, if I'm Kivior, I'm being like, hold on, I'm a Polish international. Not too long ago, I was at the Euros. Zinny, I've been at City. I was the guy in my first year at Arsenal. Who's this kid that's coming on instead of me? Oh, I might be in trouble here. I'd be amazed if Zinchenko and Kivior are at the club next season. And what I mean by that is they very well could. We'd have to probably replace them, but I don't know how long Kivior wants to remain on the bench. I don't think we'll force Zinni out, but he's got 2 years left. I think we're a bit like with Gabriel Jesus and indirectly what we've heard with Park. I think the club will be open to offers. But yeah, like, it should be a kick in the teeth to them. But you've got, like you said there, you've got to use that as fuel, because if you was doing your job and if there was any real faith, you'd be utilised, really. And it would be even more telling because it's 1-0. They're quote unquote somewhat getting into the game. It's looking a bit shaky. Lewis Skelly is on. You lot haven't. So use it as fuel, man. Another keeper. I'm not gonna lie. We need keepers, bro. I'll be real. We need keepers. I'll be real. Neto's here on loan. I think we need a second or third choice. That being said, I think I over-exaggerate our need for a central midfielder personally, because you do have, I don't want to see it again, but you do have Kai Havertz who can play in one of the 3 central positions. You do have Trossard who can play there. You have got Moreno, you have got Rice, you have got Partey. That's 5 people competing for 3 spots, you know, or you have got Odegaard as well, so that's 6. So I do think I over-exaggerate it. But for me, I think you need, if it was up to me, 2 midfielders, definitely 1. I think you need to, I don't know who, I don't know where, I think you need to find a technician, because we've got a lot of industrious players. We've got guys that can win duels. And obviously, Partey, out of all 3 of the central midfielders in Rice, Partey and Moreno, he's probably got the most about him in the final third. He can pass the ball. Moreno can pass the ball. Rice can pass the ball, but they're not specialists. You know, I hear all of this adding height, and Moreno came out in the week and talked about NBA team. And yes, I'm happy with the height and how generally we've defended. But at the end of the day, it's football. The ball's meant to be on the floor. Pass the football. We're struggling defensively. We've got some injuries. We're really struggling to create. Everything is being tested at this moment in time. So, but I do think we need keepers. But again, central midfield, if you could bring in a long-term wide man, you know, the club probably did try, and I can't waffle about things that are not happening. But in an ideal world, shout out to Sterling. But could you imagine, like, bearing in mind you've had Martinelli with a knock, Saka with a knock, could you imagine if we signed Nico Williams? You can play off the left, play off the right. We're living. And well, one love to Kai Havertz. I don't think he's put a foot wrong, and I don't think just because a striker comes in that his days are numbered. But you can't look at Arsenal's team if you assume everybody's fit and you genuinely were looking for improvements, and not say a central midfielder potentially. You know, probably 2 of the 3 positions. I love Martinelli, but if there was a left winger that is better than him, you could make a case that there's an upgrade there. I think Kai Havertz is a great player for the squad, and if another striker comes in, he's not necessarily going to lose his spot. But you're a liar if you genuinely look at Arsenal in terms of improvements and wouldn't sit there and say bringing in a striker that's going to get you 20 plus goals. It wouldn't help. Saka is the only one on that front 3 that you could say you can't improve upon. If you can find someone better than Saka, great, but he's one of the best in his position at this moment in time. Kai is performing. Is he one of the top 5 in his position in the world? Probably not, with the greatest of respect. Martinelli, probably not. So that'd be it for me, man. But we got what we got, man. Bro, I thought your squad was fixed after 600 million spent. What happened? 800 million spent. Where does this 800 million thing come from? And you, hey, big up yourself, but you support Chelsea. There, you should not. Well, to be fair, you lot are the best when it comes to pocket watching. You lot defo should not be pocket watching. You know, don't make what's going on with Enzo, because we got agendas. We see Lavia half fit now. Caicedo finally looking decent. You got Mudryk. Mudryk, who couldn't even get in your squad. He's here watching us. He's still twerking for Arteta. Relax, relax. Like we don't see square pegs in round holes with Nkunku and João Felix. We've got a good 11, probably extend that to 14. But I think, you know, we do like 80, 90% banter aside, in my opinion, of the business that we need to do. That extra 10% that makes us live comfy in moments like this, I don't think we do it. Personally as well, I like the fact that we're not buying players randomly and we're stepping in the right direction. But it always feels like for us, there's these mythical kind of players that only Arsenal can sign, if I'm honest with you. So it is quite jarring, man. It's quite jarring. When I deep it, our recruitment is okay, but not as good as it's portrayed. Constant need to replace mistakes is concerning and not address the attack too. There you have it. Even this, again, Kai Havertz, for me, the way I love Kai Havertz for Arsenal, I never thought this. I'm not saying he's the Messiah and he's this, that, and the other, but Kai, you're one of the first names on that team sheet. I feel sorry for you, even in games like Shakhtar, because regardless of his Kai Havertz, Isak, Sesko, Gyökeres, who's ever up front, what chances are these strikers being created, being given? There's no clear-cut chances currently. And I feel even more sorry for Kai because he was brave yesterday, put his face on the line, didn't even get his goal in that regards. Probably should have taken the pen. But you're a liar if you do that. I think it's very dangerous if we sit here and say we got Kai Havertz, don't sign a striker. Nah, it's all love, Abs, man. It's all love, man. Big up yourself. Havertz should be replaced as a striker, as he isn't one. I hear you. But then, what is Kai Havertz? Because surely, if you had to define him and describe him, he's a striker now. Like, he's definitely not a centre mid. I know he don't exactly, he plays up front, but he don't exactly play up front. He's a midfielder, but he's not quite. He's a bit of a unique one. I've got a lot of time for Kai, man. I've got a lot of time for Kai. The only thing, I just wish that the performances he puts in up front, we could see that in midfield, and then we've got the real perfect player, man. But we definitely need a striker, man. Look, the number 14 shirt's free. Who knows? The number 9 shirt might be free if certain man goes Saudi next summer. Who knows? It was a waste to buy Zinchenko and Jesus. I think that's harsh, man. I think when Jesus signed, amazing. When Zini signed, for all his issues, I think they helped us. The problem is, I think we've got a bit better quicker than we thought. I think we was probably a bit naive with them. Like, yeah, Zini can do the inverted thing, but you need to be able to defend. I think it was a bit Disney Channel-esque with Gabriel Jesus, and that if we give him a platform to score goals, great. Where now, obviously, they've had injuries. They've had not had form. We've improved. I think they're in the roles they should have been, just like where they was at City. You lot are squad players. You can obviously have a part to play. You can have some important moments, but beyond that, here we're at, man. I think that's harsh, though, man. I think that's harsh. But when you do factor in everything, like, to be fair to what you said, when you do factor in everything, whether it's right or wrong, how Gabriel Jesus started, the injuries, the consistent injuries and everything, you can make a case to say Gabriel Jesus has changed our lives, as Arteta said, but you could also say it's an underwhelming signing / flop. Dare I say, there's probably a case to say Zini's been a better signing, even though I don't agree with that, purely being devil's advocate. What's up, DJ at work? Just stopped in to drop a like. Hope you have a good day, bro. Jay, appreciate you. God bless you, man. If you haven't smashed the like button, make sure you're doing such, man. We've been underrated, people. We're getting dead views, but I appreciate you lot, man. One day it'll be over. Now, Zini and Jesus, when they came here, they were decent. Deluded isn't deluded. Speaking facts about Zini Jesus in recruitment. Careful, man. You know, you're not so deluded. The name's fitting, but as long as they're talking in it, but the system's just left them in it. Like, the system's just left them. Like, Jesus has lost his confidence, his form, his injuries. At the end of the day, Kai Havertz I think we failed upwards with Kai Havertz because clearly he can play up front. I mean, he scored the winning goal for Chelsea playing up front. I don't know Mikel Arteta. I just think Mikel Arteta was dead set on Kai Havertz being a midfielder. We was in the trenches. It didn't work. Jesus' injuries. Kai Havertz has done well. He's taken it and he's ran with it. So it is what it is in that regards, man. But if you told me when we signed Kai Havertz that there would be, for me, a genuine gulf in class between him and Jesus up front, to the point where I think it's quite deluded to suggest Gabriel Jesus instead of Kai Havertz. I'd look at you like you're mad. I would actually look at you like you're mad. I think Kai Havertz is more intelligent than Jesus. I think Jesus has a lot more tools in his toolbox than Havertz. But I think the little tools that Havertz has, he gets a lot more from it, really. Havertz knows, yeah, I can play a little neat 1-2, but I'm not a baller like that. I'm just going to be great off the ball. And obviously, one thing I liked about Kai is the fact that we can go long and he's a bit more physical. Jesus, it just ain't working out, man. Like, it is what it is. Still think you're a good squad player. Wouldn't force you out. But at the end of the day, you're on big money. I won't say you're nowhere near the first team because that's a massive exaggeration. But you're nowhere near the first team, really. Like, where you're playing now, off the left and the right, more so off the right, this is you. And this is it, really. It's adapt or survive, you know. Gabriel Jesus and Zini, it's a bit different. But Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko have met the same fate that Tierney did, Ramsdale did. There might even be 1-2 other players. I'm exaggerating, definitely exaggerating. But if we keep developing, there might be a round where you look at certain other players. You look at Declan Rice and say, boy, you can't play 8. And if you're not playing 6, you might go. Again, if you sign someone twice the ability of Saka dreaming, Saka might have to come out the 11. Odegaard, by the same logic, might have to come out the 11. You have to keep adapting and evolving. Take my light, appreciate that. Yeah, Liverpool are scary. I'd take a draw at the moment, but I can't see us getting a point. I hope I'm wrong. I hope everybody's wrong. Listen, against Liverpool, I'd be more than happy to take a point, definitely with the sentiment and the injuries. But I want to see a performance more than anything. I want to, you know, again, I don't want to lose. I definitely don't want to lose. But if we put our best foot forward, and a lot of the concerns we've had in the last 2 games that we've played, if they're not there, we try our best. Mo Salah bangs it in from 30 yards. All you can do is sometimes say, it is what it is. if you're sloppy defensively, if over the 90-minute period you've got a positive 10 minutes and a woeful other, this is my issues. Completely off topic, people, but any of you watch it, it's to my eye shot. If any of you are watching the youth league, it's 3-2 between Inter Milan and Young Boys. Inter have just scored again. It's quite crazy. I think Inter actually went down to 10 men. So yeah, man, big up yourself, social joins. I think we're gonna have to find a way of notifying you lot away from the YouTube notification bells. Make sure you turn that on. I do always put the links and all of these things in the community tab, but I don't think YouTube is notifying. Twitch as well, I don't think you're getting notified when we're going live or any content. It's starting to annoy me. Havertz for me also forced the issue with the run. Kai Havertz, I'll respect you for pardon me, the second half of last season, and I wouldn't give it to him. Pause. You can make a case of 2024 so far. Kai Havertz has been our best player. He's excelled in expectations, in my opinion. Whether that's enough is another thing. The squad grew quickly. Them man are squaddies. That's okay as long as they perform. Last sentence, as long as they perform. And this is the thing. Like, you look through our squad, you know, obviously we throughout this live stream, we've focused on injuries. We've focused on suspensions and whatnot. Yes, I'm being a bit harsh because certain players ain't been exposed to minutes, people, but how good is it that, again, away from the evident limitations, if these guys are thrown in, how fit and fresh and ready to go is Zinni, Jesus, Sterling, young Ethan as well, young player. The only issues are the fact that he's young. Would throw him in. Lewis Skelly, the same logic. Kivior, we don't know what we're getting week in, week out. God forbid anything happens to Raya. I don't know. Neto, he ain't even a thing, but we don't know what's going on there. There's too many unanswered questions, and that's before we get into how we're playing. Like, it feels lifeless. It feels robotic. It feels predictable. It feels a bit stale. Yes, there's injuries. We're losing key men. There's probably a bit of rustiness. There's probably a bit of fatigue. These are all factors, but how far does that go? You don't go that far. Do you seriously believe that Saka is not among the top 5 wingers in the world? Salah, Zinni are arguably better. Yalma only played 1 full season. And Rodrigo. I never said Saka was in top 5. I've been saying the whole thing he's top 5 in his position. So I don't. Maybe that comment's not for me. Saka definitely is. Jesus, the more skillful player, but not the better player. Jesus, Zinni, Ramsdale, all just vibes, guys. They run to the press, cry, so their outcomes are inevitable. Give Ethan a chance. Rooney was 16 when he was given a chance and he smashed it. No reason to say Ethan can't do the same. He's a baller. He is a baller, but I'd be wary of drawing the Rooney and the Cesc Fabregases and maybe even at his age Jack Wilshere comparisons. But you're right, you don't know how good man are until you give them a chance. I do somewhat sympathize with Arteta, and I agree, as someone that likes youth football, there has to be the right moment, but then you caveat that with, if you're good enough, you're old enough. You don't know how good people are until you throw them in, and as much as I said it might not be the right moment, when is the right moment? There's never a right moment. You know, Saka came through when we were crap as a club. Smith Rowe the same. Indirectly, Martinelli the same. Wilshere exactly the same. Rashford came through at United where there was a bunch of injuries. Of course, you get the Cesses, you get the Rooneys, you get to a degree, well, in fact, Messi as well. You get those Yalmaos, you get those exceptions to the rules. I'm not saying Ethan isn't that, but you have to learn. And to be fair to the gaffer, as much as I'm on starting Ethan, you're the one seeing him in training. And I think people fail to understand, not that our forms dictated the best of things, but tactically, yes, in terms of like for like Odegaard, with Odegaard, Ethan's the closest. Lovely baller, can play ball. We all know that. But it's everything else that's demanded, where you got to remember, Mikel Arteta's on this defense first thing. Kai Havertz has to run his socks off. Odegaard, yes, baller, lovely left foot, link up play with Saka, we miss it. Leads the press. There's so much things that go into it. You think Yalmao can take the hit Saka gets easy, safe league out there? I don't know for the Yalmao and Saka stuff. Yalmao's a baller, man. He's a star boy, and Barcelona struck gold with that one, really and truly, man. Goalkeeper, mid, attack need to invest, but I get you personally. I'd love Ruiz. Really, I think Partey was the most creative yesterday. I do see Saka coming Sunday, but Jesus on the right was okay. Just overcooked his crosses and sometimes holding the ball tad long. But yeah, but we need to create more. Should have scored. Kivi will definitely get sold. Same for Tierney and Tomiyasu. Expect 2 defenders. So if you're Lewis Skelly and the fact that you can play left back, you know, get your act together, keep doing what you're doing. But hey, spots might open up for you. Shout out to Martinelli. Even though I'm not a fan of the way he plays football, he's been playing well recently. Martinelli can still have a good career at Arsenal and hold down the left wing spot. I think Martinelli was one of the more positive players yesterday, if I'm honest with you. It did annoy me though in that he had a chance to score again. Like, you see when he tried to take it first time, The fact that he tried to take it first time annoyed me, but it's the fact, I don't know why this annoys me, but he's missed it and he's gone to G up the fans. Calm down, man. Please. But yeah, I agree with that. I'm late here. Is it right that Saka missed the Liverpool game? Mikel Arteta basically said it's unlikely, but I don't really believe anything Mikel Arteta saying, because he made out Saka was going to be there against Bournemouth. He wasn't. He's saying he won't be there against Liverpool at this moment in time. On one hand, I have to take your words for face value and accept exactly what you're saying. And then on the other hand, small hope, blind optimism, dreaming, praying, everything crossed that Saka is there. Like, Saka and Timber, I need you. Obviously, we're hoping Calafiori's there as well, but I've somewhat accepted his peak for you. Need Saka, man. Would love to wake up and Odegaard's there, but Saka is the one. Like, if nothing more, just some effing individual brilliance, man, because that can bail you out sometimes. My problem is to be aware with what you have and use the strengths to avoid the weaknesses. Just feels so weird that may need to look where the creative issue is, but I love to know what Arteta is thinking. It's something he's got to do, because there's teams below us that play a bit more progressive football than us. And again, I know these men are industrious. Rice therefore has issues passing the ball forward consistently. Moreno, obviously Spanish, he's got a good technical level, but he's not been known for that. And Partey, we all know about him. All three of them and the whole team has a lot more that they can offer in terms of triangles, link-up play, creating, all of these kind of things. Everyone injured will not make Sunday. That midfield's looking like a 4-2-1-3. Might have to just run free at the back, man. Like, just run free at the back and take it from there, because I'm not on this, man. Havertz for me also forced the issue with a run. I feel sorry for Kai. I feel sorry for Kai, because you actually look a lot more comfortable and confident in the final third. And I'll probably sound like a broken record, but we're not creating enough for Donny. Like, you're not having any, you have not had anything to work with in the last 2 games. You haven't. You've just been part of the dogfight. And I know Mikel Arteta has previously come out and said, you know, Kai is a player that will go to war for you. I hear that, Gaffer, but like, can we just give the guy something to work with? Like, it's not fair for him. And that goes for anyone. I don't care how much the game's progressed. You still need your striker to be, put food on the plate for your striker. Later today, people, we are watching Barcelona Bayern Munich together, so make sure you join me for that as well, people. But yeah, man, I'm going to go off and edit some videos for you lot. I'll see you lot this evening. As usual, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, big up you lot for your talking points, etc., and your differences of opinions. It's a pleasure to be here, people. We ride the highs and lows together. But on that note, peace.